So today I am headed up Black Hill and we're going to check out some things on Black Hill which maybe some people are not aware of. Some cool features on Black Hill. Good morning from Wrigley Reservoir. It's a relatively mild day, but it's surprisingly windy and I'm quite low down at the moment. And that wind does make it feel a lot colder. So today I am headed up Black Hill and we're going to check out some things on Black Hill which maybe some people are not aware of. Some cool features on Black Hill. This is pretty cool. I've not been up this way before. Some nice waterfalls, unexpected waterfalls. Always a good thing. So yeah, this is very nice and unexpected. This clough doesn't actually have a name on the current OS map. And the map doesn't mark these waterfalls either, but yeah, so it's really nice though. It's really, really nice. Are we supposed to be able to get through there? It's pretty windy. I'm going to have to get my external microphone out in a few minutes, but hopefully you can hear me right now. So that's Black Hill and that's Issue Clough and that's where I'm headed. Well, most of today's walk I've done before. Pretty much all the places I plan to visit on today's walk I've visited before. The main new thing about today's walk is the route that I'm taking to get up Black Hill. The first part of that route is a new one for me, going from Wrigley Reservoir. Although about halfway along I will join up with the route that I previously took. But this part of the route up, Ordnance Survey plotted this for me. I just put my start point as the car park at Wrigley Reservoir. Put the place I wanted to go as Issue Clough, and OS Maps plotted this route, which is what I'm currently following. And it's really weird because it's not marked on the map as public footpaths or public rights of way, and it's not really not clear what exactly it is I'm walking along here, or whether I have the right to walk along here. I mean, I assume I do, otherwise Ordnance Survey wouldn't have recommended it. I've not gone past any signs saying private keep out, although I did meet a gate that said that, and I went the other way. The fact that there was a gate that said that indicates that the public do have the right to be here, but it's just a bit odd, this route. Just look at these views. Now I am tempted to go this way, because on the map this does end up partially going up the very steep side of Black Hill, but then coming back down again. And I do wonder whether, or I shouldn't say I wonder whether, I should say I wonder how difficult it is to actually get up to the top of Black Hill by going that way. But that's not for today. Well, I've got the external microphone hooked up, so hopefully you can hear me. That was quite a long walk along that track. There's an all-terrain vehicle headed right towards me, but take a look at this route, Issue Clough on the side of Black Hill. Look at this. So you can see in the distance the waterfall on Issue Clough. I've visited that before. I'm going there back there today. There is a path that goes along the side of Issue Clough to get to the top of Black Hill. The last time I visited the waterfall, I scrambled up Issue Clough itself, which was good fun, but not something I'm going to do today. So my plan today is just to go up to the waterfall, spend a bit of time there, and then come back down and take the path up to the top. I'm trying something a little bit different this time from what I did last time I visited the waterfall. Last time I tried to follow the clough up. This time, which was fine, and there's some little small waterfalls, but it was also quite boggy and it just took a long time. So this time I'm trying something slightly different. I followed the main track up to this point here, just below the point where it gets, the gradient of the hill gets a lot steeper, and there is kind of a sheep trod, and I'm just following this sheep trod, and there's Issue Clough and the waterfall's just round the bend from here. And so far it's been okay. This is the first bit of boggy swamp I've reached. Interesting. I'm not sure what this was. So that's pretty impressive, but the main event is just over here. Now, Issue Clough Waterfall is not exactly a secret, but not many people seem to make the effort to come and visit. That water there is so clear and clean and very tempting, quite deep. So here I am, directly underneath the waterfall. It's a pretty big size. I mean, it's pretty big, it's pretty impressive. And you know, today is a Saturday. The weather's mild. It's not currently raining. It's a bit hazy. It's a little bit windy. But it's not bad weather. And there's no one else here. Issue Clough Waterfall on Black Hill. Maybe it's a stretch to call it a secret, but it's certainly a less well visited gem. So if you wanted to, you could scramble up the sides. It's easier to get up that side. That's what I did last time I was here. And then you can either kind of follow the clough up directly or kind of cut across to eventually rejoin the path. That is fun. It is a bit tough and challenging. Today I don't feel like I'm going to do that. I did it last time. Today I'm just going to retrace my steps back to the path and follow the path up. So I've been here for a while, especially if you include the walk in, and there's been no other visitors to the waterfall. I didn't see anybody coming back from the waterfall when I was headed towards it, and I can't see anyone heading towards it now. No one's been to the waterfall while I've been there. So it's definitely a less well visited but quite amazing spot in the Peak District. And on today's walk we'll be visiting a few other amazing less well visited spots. So I'm going to follow this up to the top on Black Hill, and then I'm going to head over to the top edge of Issue Clough, the other side, for the next point of interest. So I've joined the Pennine Way, which I'll be on for a short distance. There's still a bit of up to go following the edge of Issue Clough, the top edge. Just past a couple who were coming down. They said there's a few people around on Black Hill, but not too many. But it's a beautiful day. The sun is trying to come out, but over there the cloud is really low, and there might be some drizzle or rain even amongst that. And right now I'm quite sheltered, but I think it's pretty windy, and I think I'm going to come out the wind, a bit out of the shelter and into the wind pretty soon. Absolutely superb. I do love Black Hill. Where I'm headed to, you can pretty much see it actually, if you know what to look for, right on the edge of Issue Clough on the other side over there. That's my next stop, my next point of interest. It will take a little bit of time to get to it, walking up and around the side of Issue Clough. The views are starting to open up now, and they are fantastic. So I'm above the top of Issue Clough now. I'm going to come off the Pennine Way to follow this trail that runs along the fence. The views really are terrific. That's looking across towards West Nab and Wessington Head Reservoir, although you can't see it. You can see the parking. Just so much incredible landscape, incredible views. Now there's not much shelter on top of Black Hill. The place I'm going to next does provide a little bit of shelter. There's no shelter from the rain, but there is some shelter from the wind. And although it is one of the, again, a lesser known spots on Black Hill, there are some that know about it. And it is coming up for lunchtime, and it is a Saturday, so I may not have the place to myself when I get there. So here we are. This is the second point of interest on this walk. Again, a lesser known feature on Black Hill. These are the ruins of Wrigley's cabin. And I may be misremembering, but I think someone's patched it up a little bit since I was last here. To the extent that I can't actually see inside. There may be people inside sat down. So let's see if there are. Definitely looks like someone's done some repair work. So yeah, that looks like it's been patched up. There's the old chimney. So Wrigley's cabin is one of the old shooting cabins. And it would have been deliberately ruined in the probably in the 50s or 60s, when similar shooting cabins were also being deliberately ruined by landowners once people had the right to walk this area. So Wrigley's cabin is a pretty cool spot. Despite not having a roof, it's fairly intact. You certainly can get out of the winds, especially with the way that the walls curve around. So I don't know whether to have my lunch in here or not. The problem is, if other people come along, it's going to be a bit awkward. Oh, you know, that path is getting quite busy now. The one up the side of Issue Clough and the Pennine Way. I really don't know whether to have my lunch here or not. But that wind is still getting in. So it's not offering as much shelter as you might think. And if someone comes along while I'm having my lunch, it's going to be very awkward. The alternative would be to find somewhere amongst the gruffs out of the wind. I think I might do that. I've just realised what those things were that I saw on the wall at Wrigley cabin. They were these things. Someone's been taking them off the fence and for whatever reason putting them in the cabin. Right, well, I've no idea whether you can actually hear what I'm saying. I might just be talking to myself here. It's lunchtime more or less, so I'm going to try and find somewhere amongst these gruffs where I've got a bit of shelter from the winds and have lunch. If I can't find anywhere, I probably will just head back to Wrigley's cabin and hope that no one else comes along, but they probably will, because it is lunchtime and it is probably the most obvious place on Black Hill Plateau. If you know where it is, probably the most obvious place to go and have your lunch. I reckon if I sit down here, it shouldn't be too bad. So it's been quite nice sat here having my lunch. The advantage of, or one of the advantages of being outside rather than in the cabin ruin, is the views. Spectacular views. And although it's not overly warm in the wind, my hands are nowhere near as cold as they have been the last few times I've stopped for a lunch on a walk. So that's good news. Right, the next point of interest, the next not so well known point of interest on Black Hill is very close to where I am right now. I've just seen a mountain hare. As is often the case, I wasn't quick enough to get my phone out and start filming, but it was still partially in its winter colours, so it was kind of a grey colour. Still a lot of white, but I have arrived at the next point of interest, the next less well known point of interest on Black Hill. So this is the plane crash site for a Sabre. It crashed in December 1954. The pilot unfortunately was killed in the crash. There was a lot more wreckage and it was strewn out over a larger area, but over the years bits have gone and what's left has kind of been piled up. Although I'm sure there's a lot of wreckage under the peat. That wind really has picked up on the top here. Okay, on to the next point of interest. So I'm just having a rest. It's pretty tough going, walking Black Hill where there's no paths. It's very boggy and that wind isn't making things any easier at all. So I just sat down for a rest. I'm very close to the next point of interest. I think that's the fourth point of interest. Now, I feel that for many people, they only really know Black Hill because of the Crowden Horseshoe, and that is an amazing route, and that's an amazing walk, but there's a lot more to Black Hill than you see when you do that route. And hopefully this video will show you a few things, a few places, a few spots which maybe you didn't know about or you haven't visited. This is the wreckage of the fairy swordfish. The pilot was killed in 1940. Unfortunately, the wreckage and the body weren't discovered for a month, and when the wreckage was finally found, the pilot was still strapped into the cockpit. This is all that's left of the wreckage now. One of the interesting things about this wreckage site was in March 1940, a group of 8 RAF personnel were dropped off by the landlord of a local pub so that they could remove some of the wreckage, some of the items from the plane crash site, and they made an arrangement to meet with the landlord a few hours later, and the landlord was there, but the RAF personnel never showed up, and they didn't show up until a day or so later. I'll put all the details on the screen, but they got completely lost. Right, so let's continue with the walk on to the next point of interest. The next point of interest is pretty well known. I'd say just about everyone who comes up Black Hill knows the next point of interest, but we're going to go visit it anyway. By the way, the reason why Black Hill is so named is because of the exposed peat, which in the past was a lot worse than it is today. To be fair to those RAF personnel, this part of Black Hill is notoriously difficult to navigate. Anyone who's done the Crowden Horseshoe will know that this particular point is probably the most difficult bit to navigate. I'm very close to my next point, but getting there is difficult because it's just a bog. You have to pick your way. So here we are. The next point of interest is a very well-known one. Pretty much anyone who's been up Black Hill would have been to the Trig. If you take the Pennine Way to get here, it's quite easy, but if you come from the transmitter, or if you're doing the Crowden Horseshoe, and you're not following the Pennine Way, it can be quite difficult. It's a lot easier today than it used to be. I think it may have been Wainwright himself who wrote about the summit of Black Hill being virtually impossible to reach because it was just a mass of black exposed peat bog. And as you can see when you look at the trig point, it has been raised up off the ground, and obviously the Pennine Way has these nice stone slabs to walk along. So if you look on the Ordnance Survey map, at the point where the trig point is, it actually says Soldier's Lump, and that name is from the soldiers who did all the work raising the ground, basically, so that the trig point could be raised above the peat bog and protected from sinking down into the peat. At this point here, we've finished the circuit on Black Hill itself, so we came up this way and then we follow the fence line round to get to Wrigley's cabin over there, and then we went over to the Sabre wreck, and then we went to the Fairy Swordfish wreck, and then the trig point, and onto the Pennine Way. So here I am. I've just come off the Pennine Way, just a short distance to stand right at the very top of Issue Clough. What a view! Incredible. Tell you what, it's so windy, it's not very safe. Not very safe, stood so close to the edge there. The wind is certainly buffeting you around a little bit, and tomorrow I know is going to be a lot windier than today. Let's get back onto the Pennine Way. Okay, so I followed the Pennine Way back to the point where this side path takes us to the bottom of Issue Clough, where we came up this morning. We're going to go down the same way, but I wanted to have another look at this sign here. So this sign is basically warning you that if you follow the Pennine Way, you do eventually get to Dean Clough, and the Pennine Way crosses over Dean Clough. And when it's been raining hard, it can be pretty dangerous to try and cross over. May not be possible to safely cross over Dean Clough. Now, one of my very early videos on the channel that barely anyone's watched is me walking down Dean Clough, which you can't even see from here. Walking down Dean Clough all the way down to where it gets to Marsden. I think it's called Marsden Clough. It's a fairly short bit of Dean Clough, but it is beautiful. The spot where the Pennine Way crosses over Dean Clough is beautiful. The spot where Dean Clough joins another clough and becomes Marsden Clough, if I remember rightly, down there somewhere, that is beautiful as well. There's some nice ruins there, but actually walking down Dean Clough is pretty amazing, and I don't think anyone does it, or very few people do it. There's no real path, but there's a whole load of pretty impressive waterfalls. So if you are interested, go check out that earlier video on the channel. The second I start filming and the wind picks up, but I was about to say the wind's dropped off completely. So pretty much back down at the bottom of Issue Clough. The sun is fully out and I'm pretty much out the wind, apart from the odd gust, and it's quite hot. It is quite warm now, and it's really pleasant actually. It's really nice to be out in the warm instead of being out in the freezing cold. No idea. So this is the way I came up this morning. Came up these weird lane things, and this one here, and then here. I can see some people going down that one there. So I think I'll give that a go, if I can. May not be possible. Right, well, this is where the lane goes down, and then there's another one that goes off the side. I don't know if you can call it a lane really, it's more like a track. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really not that obvious whether this is a public right of way or what. But there's no signage to stop me, and there's no gates or obstacles to stop me, so I do therefore have the right of access. And I suspect these are just really, really, really old country lanes from long before motorised vehicles. Okay, so that's interesting. I've just come down here, and actually I've joined up with the route from this morning. So this morning I went that way and I came up here, and this is the little stream with no name and lots of little nice waterfalls that we took a look at this morning. So I think it is, I don't think there's much difference in it in terms of time or distance as to which way round you go, but it's easier going the way that I've just come down than it is going the way I went up this morning. I'm just coming up to the car park at Wrigley Reservoir, and the walk is pretty much over. That's been a good one. I've enjoyed that. It makes so much difference to have some sunshine, and although it's been really windy, and in the wind it's been quite chilly, it has been a lot warmer, and it makes a big difference. So I hope you enjoyed that video and that walk. Just some of the less well-known locations on Black Hill. I think most people just know Black Hill from the Crowden Horseshoe route, and and that's a spectacular walk. But if that's the only time that you've walked Black Hill, then you've really missed out. There's so much else to discover. There are plenty of other places on Black Hill as well that are of interest, that weren't included in today's walk. But anyway, if you enjoyed that, then please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.